A lot of college football talk, though. Some noise is happening. Some rumblings are going on. I hate it for Georgia. Dylan Raiola, we've been talking about him. He's the number one quarterback in the country. He's the new arch. It has been like it's like keep the Kardashians. He's going to Nebraska. He's crystal ball to USC. He's crystal ball to Georgia. Well, I've said he's got to commit soon. He has to. With being a number one quarterback, we've talked about the importance of having a quarterback commit early. And DJ Lagway just got some love from Simmons on On3 on being the number one recruiter this year thus far for 2024. Because I said he has been a beast at recruiting and being on the ball. So I think other guys are seeing this. So Dylan Raiola, the noise is he's going to be committing soon, and it looks like Georgia. The other name is Ryan Wingo, I believe, the number one wide receiver, 5-star, or he's a top, he's not number one, Jeremiah is, a top 5-star wide receiver who was heavily committed to Tennessee. And I thought Colorado was going to have a chance to flip it, is now leaning heavily towards Georgia. And so it seems kind of too good to be true on all this happening at the same time, which leads me to my third and final part of Brock Vandergriff, who literally 3 minutes before the show came out, I guess, and said, I'm staying at Georgia, but, and it's a big but, if these two things happen with the Raiola and Wingo, Brock's got to be looking like, this isn't a place for me, right? I know it's a lot to take in, digest what I just went over there, but.
Yeah. In that situation, you've got a lot of quarterbacks on your roster with 4 years of eligibility left.
Lot.
So I would expect one of those quarterbacks to go if you get Dylan Raiola from, I guess, said class. But now with, well, like you said, with what's his name, Wingo or Wing?
Ryan Wingo, I think in Hurricane
Ryan
he's
Wingo.
number two wide receiver.
Yeah, it is kind of suspicious that he would be crystal ball to Georgia right as Dylan Raiola is. So they maybe been talking to each other. Who knows? I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, you've got 4 quarterbacks on your roster with 4 years of eligibility. Somebody's leaving. And I don't care what they tweet out and say, oh, well, I'm still sticking with Georgia. Yeah, we'll see what happens when Dylan Raiola commits and eventually signs. I mean, he may be sticking with them this year and seeing if he does commit, if he actually sticks through with that commitment. And if he does, then maybe next year he's in the portal.
And so Wingo has been crystal ball. So he's a 4-star composite on 247, fourth wide receiver. But again, he's been Wiltfonged to Georgia now. And I want to remind you, when Dylan Raiola committed to Ohio State, shortly after, Jeremiah Smith committed to Ohio State. Don't forget, it was very, I don't know how shortly after, but it seemed to correlate. Well, he's committed to Ohio State. Ohio State has withdrew their offer, so that relationship is no more, right? So now what does he go do? Okay, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to take the second wide receiver with me. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And that could be why he was trying to negotiate this all around. It's like, hey, I'm not going to go here with nobody. Not that Georgia's going to have a hard time recruiting anybody. They just got Turbo as well. And that could help maybe Turbo flipping as well. But again, a lot of what ifs. But both of these guys being crystal ball to Georgia, like you said, a lot of talent. A lot of talent. There's with how things are, no way they stay. But a good point to what Dave said before he hopped off. He transitions in the SEC. He's got to sit out for a year. Now, would he leave and start somewhere now anyways? I don't know. So how big of a deal is that? We'll see. But again, literally I had this all queued up, and then literally 3 minutes before the show, a little blurb dropped that he came out and said, I'm committed. But Dylan hasn't committed yet. Steve?
I mean, we talked about USC potentially building just a monster out there on the West Coast with the coaching staff and then the talent that they have available in that state. And I'm just not. I don't think I'm ready to wrap my head around Dylan Raiola going to Georgia. I know that there's a possibility of it. I just don't know if I'm ready to stomach it. It doesn't feel right. I don't like it one bit. Look, how do you have 17 freshman quarterback on your roster? Like, what are they going to do with all these guys? It's the one position you can only get one on the field at a time. Carson Beck looks to be pulling away pretty significantly from some of the other guys in the quarterback room. But I mean, Dylan Raiola comes in, the other two have to bail. I mean, they can't sit there for their entire college career, hoping that you get 2 ACL tears or something just to get on the field. So I don't know, man. That just feels like just an exodus on the verge of happening. But Dylan Raiola just scares the hell out of me at Georgia. Now, the one thing I will say, and I think I'll steal this from Uncle Lou, it takes 4 or 5 years for a quarterback to ever be good at Georgia. Every other position they could be instant plug and play straight out of high school. Running back, wide receiver, linebackers, defensive line. They come out of high school, it feels like they get a burn from the first year. They get playing time. But you got to be like a 26-year-old man to play quarterback in Georgia. The light just never seems to really turn on for those guys, at least quickly.
They seem to have a formula there that works.
Yeah, it's working. Let's not take anything away from them, but I'm not looking for a quarterback who's got an AARP card from the time that he walks on campus either. So, it's I just don't like the concept at all of Raiola going to Athens. Though.
It's just too much talent in one place. Yeah, it'll be an interesting development. We will be obviously keeping tabs on it, and if it does break, we'll talk about it. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, turn the bell on, so you guys can be here when we do talk about that, because that's a big one. Number one quarterback, number one recruit in the country.